Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending upon where you live around the world. We're back again, and this is another quick one. I considered what I was doing next, and I thought rather than skirt around what I'm getting at, is to show you what I want. Now, this model is not based upon geometry or maths, and it is as close as I can get to the correct appearance of what I want. Now, I go to show that, I go to parallel projection and the plan view, and notice that the edges, the outside edges, are perfectly in line, so they all intersect at the points upon which are required to give the faces a flat surface along here. That's exactly what I want. Note also that the variance in the line here is quite minor. Now that's going to be a point later on, because there's a method that you can use which doesn't really use the curves of a geodesic dome to create the geodesic dome, and it is simply using a grid to create the intersections and the points where they would touch a sphere. Now, it's not particularly hard to do, but we'll go through that at some stage in the future. But this is basically the look that I want to achieve this look, this outcome. You note the base is approximately 8 meters square, so the span of this is not insignificant. I may or may not stick with the 8 meter span. The 6 meter, between 6 and 8 meters is what I'm looking at. The strut lengths start to get quite long. As this one here is one of the longer ones. It's 2.6 meters long. This one here is 2.5. This one's 2.3, etc. So you can see the lengths are still quite reasonable. If I needed to stiffen them up, I can either go to a thicker section size or put the intermediate dwangs, as Paul Robinson says. You're making a quasi higher frequency dome. But how did I achieve this? How did I achieve my goals if I didn't use maths? Well, I cheated. And it's a damn good cheat, but it is a cheat nonetheless. Scouring the internet as we all do, I came across some plan and side elevations of the dome. I'll hide that and hide that. So here I've got virtually all the information I need to create my dome. And as one can see, again, clicking out of parallel into parallel projection and going from the front, you can see that by lining up the points as close as you possibly can with the drawing, and if you project lines and guides sufficiently accurate, you can create your dome. So I'll just click out of that, and if you draw a line from here and draw it upwards, you'll get the point of intersection. Now there's a little bit of finessing required to achieve this, but in short order can quite efficiently create these drawings, and from that you can go backwards to how you generate the drawings using geometry or maths to understand a better approach, because this, if you have to do this for each variance that you have, it's not a good way. It's bespoke for each version, and I don't recommend that at all. It's a good starting point, it's a good intermediary step to learning how to do it properly and how you get there. Now there may be other methods that are more precise than what I'm about to use in the coming up videos, but as you can see, this is one method. The other one, as I did say, was just to have straight grids, and what you wind up with is basically a truss, but it's a truss that's not really angled in its maximum direction. It's not a truss, but it's the idea of having everything in line. Now that can work wonders for you visually, but when you go to build it, you might find that what looks good on paper isn't in real life. So yeah, that's just the caveat there. So that was a quickie. This is what we're aiming for, so that I'll just get rid of these. Alright. So that when we're looking at the side, we've got a nice flat or flush point upon which we can put in a doorway, put in a side, etc. And if the struts get too, or the loading on them get too problematic, it's much easier to work in a flat plane. Say you wanted to put a line across there and there, you can actually use that triangle to help support the roof, which is what I'm calling the roof. Now that in itself is not a bad idea. It also gives some more rigidity to the dome and more hold down capacity, because if you use screw anchors, which is what I'll be looking at using, if you use more of them, you get more capacity for the dome to be held down and stop acting like a parachute in reverse, where the wind comes along and gets underneath it and tries to lift it, or as may happen, the wind comes across and creates a negative pressure on part of the dome and it will try to collapse it. Now, is that an issue in reality? Maybe not. Just that my nervousness as a professional builder says, where's the bracing coming from? You say, well, it's triangulated bracing, but this here is a huge hinge point, and you could have the top part acting as one piece, and all the pressure goes through these 4 lines of the structure and creates a hinge point. Having a point anchored to the ground helps mitigate that problem, or that potential. Okay, that's me again. That was just a quickie, as this is where we're going. We may come back to this and do an exercise of drawing it, but at this stage, this shape obtained through a cheat is the general area that we want to aim for via geometry or maths. Okay, that's it. See you later. Bye.